Tuatahi e te pautikanga nau te e whakapuari a tātou hui, e whakamanahia tātou, mātou ko whakaemi nei, kei ro i te Tairawhiti ki a tātou manuhiri piki mai, kake mai, koutou kei waenga, tātou o tā rānei, mō te aha, mō te mana motu hake o te ao Māori. Me ki tautoko ngā mihi, ko mihia, koe tātou mate huhua, rātou ko whiturangitia, hoki ngā mahara ki a tātou ankara, anko api, ko tōna ki, nōku te whenua, nōku te mana. Me ki e te High Commissioner Laura, te nākoe, me ki koutou ngā rangatira e whakapiri mai kei waenga tātou, ka mautui. I don't have any notes, right? So, just a little bit of history. Uncle Api said, Asians and Māoris have a whakapapa link. And so the first Chinese persons that came here were Māori. Right? Secondly, 1842, 2 years after the Treaty of Waitangi, Apok, he landed in Nelson. He saw some wahine bathing, and he says, I'm not getting back on that ship. You know, the biggest export is actually people. People have been exported around the world, and it is that intellectual capability of people. And in actual fact, Chinese people were first invited to New Zealand. Please come to help our economy in the gold fields in Otago. 12 people came. In actual fact, they didn't come from China. They actually came from Victoria, Australia. And because the economy was going down, the Pākehā gold miners, their fingers were hurting. They said, look, can we get some Chinese people over and help our economy out? And Choi Sil Hoi, he was one of the entrepreneurs that came, and he was the first one that actually invented a gold dredge, world's first gold dredge that actually churned up the gold and harvested the gold from the rivers. From that, we've had Chu Chong of Taranaki, first one to actually export butter, right? Chinese. First to actually export kake, fungus, wood ear, the ones that actually saved a lot of whānau in the depression years of 1912. And then we follow on from that, the first Chinese person to actually open a supermarket in New Zealand was in Auckland. First one. And why I'm saying that is because we are flexible, we are innovative. It's okay, you can borrow our kiwi fruit. We don't mind the intellectual property rights for that. You can turn it into whatever you like. But that's the aroha ake kia tātou. You know, all this about property, we don't value the property, intellectual property right. We said, why don't we share our knowledge for the betterment of mankind? Because when you have property rights, it actually costs more, and some people can't afford it. And so the notion that I'm coming from a Chinese person, is because we have a sense of responsibility. Our purpose on this world, in this world here, is our sense of responsibility to our whānau, to our families, first and foremost, and to our country. So when we diasporic go all over the world to different countries, back in the 1860s, there were about 5,000 Chinese men in New Zealand. The government said, no, you cannot bring your women. Hello, your worship. The government said, no, you cannot bring your women. There was only 5,000 men to 8 women, 8 Chinese women. And so hence, thank you for the whakawhanaungatanga of allowing your wahine, Māori, British, Scottish, Irish, to be part of your families now. And our role and responsibilities is not about lovey-dovey, okay? You know how we have the system of matchmaking, and Māori had the notion of matchmaking those days, not nowadays. They tell you to go and bugger off. But the notion of matchmaking was very important to kinship, to mana, to whakawhanaungatanga, increasing and supporting the whānau of each other. And you know, in my role as a dad, it's okay. They said, oh, you go away all the time. Wife is not, how does the wife feel? Well, I hope that she still opens the door for me when I come back. But the main thing is that my role is, and our responsibilities are for our children and for our elders, my parents and our grandparents. And my father's responsibility and my parents' responsibilities, when they were alive, they sent money back home to China. And that's with Pacific people as well. That's one of the other people that are currently doing that judiciously to support their whānau in the Pacific, because they don't have the means, because we are supposed to be here in the Gamsan, in the Gold Mountains. Gamsan in California, Gamsan in Victoria, Australia, Gamsan right here in Otago, which means the new land, the new gold, the Gold Mountains. And our responsibility is to go to those places and make some money and go back. In 1902, you may have heard of the SS Ventnor. It was to carry our ancestors back to China and to be buried there, back to their ukaipo. And that is, I can get the notion when the news of, the general news says that, Māoris are body snatchers. No, they're not. They're only trying to ensure that their kawanga and tikanga is upheld in terms of returning the body, the tūpāpaku, back to where the pito was. Quite simple. So the narrative is very important. You know, nōku te mana, nōku te nōku te whenua, nōku te mana is very important. A very key concept for Māoridom to hold on to. When you settle your treaty claims, it is not to buy shares in companies, because you have lost your mana. Your mana has gone to Coca-Cola, to Google, to WhatsApp, to Tencent. Other people are controlling your money. You need to actually hoko whenua. Because one nui in Māhia, I went to school with the Walkers and the Ormond family. The Ormond family have sold most of the land in Māhia, right? One day comes along Peter Beck and says, gosh, I want to set up a rocket lab where I can fire my rockets into the sky. And he went and he found this place called One Nui. And One Nui is owned by the Walkers. They don't really have to farm now, but the mana of having the land is paramount. Mana is, it's like I've always said, whoever owns the land is king or queen. I've got our Queen Bee over here, Ingrid, Whangara B5. It goes from Pauawa to Mātaki. Awesome. Awesome when you drive for at least 40 minutes from Gisborne to Tolaga Bay. On the right-hand side at least is all Māori whenua. All. Awesome. 90% of the coastline is Māori. I read in your articles there, 50% of the seafood is Māori. You've got to have the resource before you can actually do the trade. And you've got to have control of that resource before you can have the trade. And so buy more quota. Don't buy shares. Buy more quota. Buy more land. The other thing, time is nothing. They talk about COVID, SARS, pandemics here and there, downturns in economies, the GFCs, this current one, the Asian share market crash, the New Zealand, Australian share market crash in the 80s. That's nothing. Don't worry about it. For Māori, you are intergenerational. Mō ake tonu tō rā mō a pōpō, mai Māui tiki tiki a tāranga, taino ki e nai nei, me ki me anga whakamua. From the day that you came to Aotearoa, where Māui fished up this wonderful land, te ika nui a Māui, no pōraurangi anō, and also to today, going into the future, time is nothing. I just want to emphasize that because everybody's talking about time. Someone's starting to colonize your minds to say that time is important. E hara. Time is not important. Te mea nui is the trust in the whakawhanaungatanga. Your generations of many generations to come, and I come from thousands of generations, you've come from thousands of generations, High Commissioners come from thousands of generations. There is no hurry, I can tell you that now. Because your hurry is to get things right, is to have that trust and have that intergenerational thought, have the mana. Your mana is important, that you do not sell your mana. And you know, relationships are similar to dating when you come to trade. Who fell in love the first time and just got married? Or who has had several before they decided, and then that wasn't the right one, and had tried again? Cost a lot of money, that stuff. Somebody actually asked me, relationships. How good are relationships in New Zealand? And I said they were paper thin. Paper thin. And the reason why I say they are paper thin, there are 12,000 marriages in New Zealand each year. There are 8,000 separations each year. I'm not saying that all those ones that got married this year are going to be separated. Don't worry about that. It's intergenerational, right? And so the interesting thing is that those relationships are thin. And the good thing about trading relationships is that you make sure you get paid first before you send the product off. How many companies have been doing trusted in the past for a long time? They do go broke. I was just looking down in Gladstone Road the other day, 30 years. Who can remember a shop that has been there for 30 years, let alone 20 years, let alone 10 years? Businesses come and go. But the good thing about Māoridom is forever. You are here forever. The beautiful thing about the laws of New Zealand, it allows you to be here to actually tuku your whenua to the future generations. Slide. Thank you, Tim. Spot the difference. I just cut and paste just this slide out of Google today. Wonderful, that Google. Now, nearly three quarters of the world's population is in Asia. Okay? I was told many years ago, tangata whenua are dying off. Tangata whenua are dying off. I said, no, you're not. China's got 1.4. India's got 1.3. Indonesia, tangata whenua, o rātou wāhi, 600 or 700 million. There's heaps of tangata whenua. Don't be afraid, there's no tangata whenua. We're all still here. And the thing is that we still have our whenua, and we're still governing our whenua. And one day I see, and I can see this, maybe you can tell your grandchildren and children, their future generations, Māoridom will be the biggest influencer of the New Zealand economy, of the Aotearoa economy. I bet the word New Zealand won't even exist in a few generations. I bet it will change to Aotearoa. If you continue on the pathway of ensuring that you look after your whenua for your future generations, that you add to the whenua like Whangarabi 5 have, they bought land over here and land over there. You don't have to be parochial just to say that you're going to buy land only in our area. You buy land wherever is going to benefit your iwi. On another point is that for Māoridom, I know that you're parochial in employing your own people. That's good. One of the good things about the Confucius language schools is that the Chinese government actually pays for teachers to actually teach Mandarin in the schools. In Te Tairawhiti, unfortunately this year is not to be because they can't come over, but there were 10 schools here in Te Tairawhiti learning Mandarin. Ko te reo, te mea nui. If you can't converse, how are you supposed to have relationships? That's why ducks and chickens do not get married. They do not have duck eggs and chicken eggs together. I don't know, quack egg. Right? It's simple. Ko te reo, te mea nui. If you can converse in the reo of that country that you're trading with, you're not going to be half-tricked anyway. Right? At least you can actually converse and delve into it. And it's not only te reo. I am a prime example of participation. Being with the people. Being with the people is not just te reo, it is the tangihanga, it is the mārena, it is the rā whānau, it's all those things that I participate in. And it is incumbent for me to actually breed some more Chinese people to actually have the same skills and background as myself. It is incumbent for Māori organisations to employ the people that you trade with. So if you trade with China, you employ some Chinese people. You trade with Japan, Korea, Indonesia, you go and employ some of those people. Don't just look inward to yourself, because your relationship is with those people and you need their intellectual knowledge. Don't employ, I shouldn't say this because I'm part of the Human Rights Commission about age, right? Employ young people, right? Employ young people. You know the thing about young people? They have no fear. We are sitting in this room, we're quite comfortable. We like to analyse the contract that Rob has written to its nth degree to make sure that everything's covered. But when we're young, we just go and do it. Remember when you were young? You just did it. I nai nei, o me tūpato tātou. Ere, ngau tero tero, just in case we get stung. But when you're young, and you'll know that the youngest people are the richest people in the world. Not this old fellas now like us. The young people are the entrepreneurs. They have no fear. We have a concept that when you're young, you have no fear, and when you're old, you're too clever for your own good, right? And that is why, I'll just give you a little concept. That is why the soldiers, the people in the Navy, the people in the Air Force, they are young. because they have no fear. Just take a note of that. Why do you go to the army when you're 18? Because you can, because you feel fearless. No problems. Look at our Māori battalion boys. Uncle Noel, 15. He didn't want to milk cows. But all the young ones went over till they went over and said, shivers, these fellas are firing at us too. You know? So that's the same in business. Young people, entrepreneurs, have no fear. They just go and say, yeah, let's take a chance. If it comes off, it comes off. If it doesn't, we can actually get up and start again. No problems. That's all I've got. Because we're ahead of time, but that's enough messages for today, I'm sure. But tēnā koutou te taumata, me koutou te poari o te taumata. They said it's populated by Ngāti Pro. Sorry, Chris. There's only one wahine on there. Come on, boys. Come on, boys. Hey, we've got to have more. Look, diversity is good, right? And that's why, you hold up a blank piece of paper, it's only that colour. But if you patch it up like the rainbow, it's beautiful. And that diversity actually helps you grow your organisation by employing more Asian people of that area, those areas that you do trade with, by making more friends. If you want to make more friends, you know the thing, I'll just tell you one more thing, right? In China, even though they allow 2 children now, they still only have 1 because it's too expensive, right? And the thing is that if you're just looking at wealth alone, okay, if you're looking at wealth, you got your mummies and your daddies working hard and they've accumulated all this wealth, right? Maybe 4 or 5 units in some businesses and all that, right? And then when the 2 get married, they assume all this wealth. There's 2 lots. And then when their kids get married, there's 1 child, they get 4 lots, right? So marry one of them. Right? That's one way to be wealthy. It's to marry one of them. Oia no, 3 minutes.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions for Meng? Challenge Meng. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. Kia ora, everybody. Meredith Akota Brown. In your previous role as the Mayor of this region, has Council gotten better in its relationship with iwi Māori? I know that you have spoken already of all the work you did in that relationship space, so kia ora to you for that, Meng. But what is Council's role in the moving forward to support our iwi Māori hapu whānau in regards to today's korero?
That's not a loaded question at all. Your best thing to support Māori in your economy is to enable them to do their work. They do not want to be fed every day. They actually want mana. They want to be self-determining, but your rules and your regulations must allow Māoridom to do their work. And thank you to Rehet and our council back those days. Māori sit 50% with the council on all resource management act in Ngāti Porou. We make decisions together on water, on land, on maunga, on seabed, on everything, on all resource consent. So maybe that's one of these things that you can take back home. Now, I'm here to support you to do that because one of the mātaku things in other councils is that they said, oh, these Māoris, what are they going to do? You know, they might not make the right decision for us. There is fear. But there is an example of trust. And the best trust is in that first step is that Resource Management Act where we can actually share decision making. So you have mana.
Etahi atu. Another question? Yep.
Oh. What's that, 2 minutes? No. Kia ora. Oh, John.
This is a very quick one, Meng. Being the youngest entrepreneur in the room, my question is, at the moment I see there's a huge market in China regarding flood prevention. I see 26 or 27 provinces have been badly hit by floods. And as you know, I do weather modification. So I was wondering, the best way for me to make an impression is perhaps to get you to mediate between myself and the Chinese government to help them prevent further flooding in China. That's just a challenge to you as well as China.
Thank you very much. The feng shui is 非常好. The feng shui is very good. Yeah. Anyway, just one more last thing, all right? I've got 1 more minute. The last thing is grow the best, safest product in the world. Because the best, safest product in the world that has mana motuhake attached to it is always going to get a premium. Don't worry about growing quantity, grow quality people, grow quality kai, grow quality mana, grow quality iwi, grow quality everything. Everything that you do is grow quality. Te tiro kia apple, okay? Every part, that little button, the packaging, the writing, every part of your business shall grow excellence. That's why they call it taumata. Your hui is not called taumata for nothing.
Koina me.
Kia ora.
Takatira, e hi ka mā. Meng, some closing comments. Pārekari ke ngā taringa i te whakarongo i tahi o whakaaro, me ngā wero ke roti a koe, kia mata. Some of the things that we've heard from you, Meng, I truly thank you, because I think it brings a different perspective on the way of thinking about these things, that you reminded us. You know, don't be too distracted by time. Don't be too distracted by time. We are here mai rāno, ne? You also said change the name to Aotearoa. Well, I'd say to you now, if you look at the name of our rugby competition now, they're calling it, what is it, Super Rugby Aotearoa. So it's happening. The change is happening. Learn te reo. I think those real simple things, Meng, that you've shared with us are so fundamental if we as Māori are going to reach out and take our place alongside other nations, learn te reo. We've known that as Māori, but I think that's another lesson that maybe others can learn from us. And your final point for me, a key one, Meng, is about our young people. We're going to hear from some of our young people later on this afternoon and some of the bright ideas that they've got in terms of moving the trade agenda further. One last thing, I remember Meng and I sitting somewhere, I don't know where it was, Meng, and somebody said to you, hey Meng, how do I make $1 million? And you said to him, easy, grow 1 million cabbages. And, it was, I guess, the thing that struck me about all of that, it was its simplicity, in terms of the thinking. Yes, I think you're right. We maybe can, in this day and age, tend to overcomplicate things somewhat. And, and so it's really healthy, Meng, to have those comments from you to remind us of those simple things. Kia ora ki a koe. So with that, I'd really like now, and we are a little bit mindful of we're sort of running a bit behind time, but it leads in really, really well. I'm going to invite one of my taumata friends to host the next session to introduce our haukainga.
Ingrid? Hello, my Ingrid. Linnell, are you here? Hello, mate. Just while they're getting up here, Meng